Hello, my name is SYAHIR bin Isa from K20, and I will present about file transfer protocol. For the overview, FTP is the simplest and most secure way to exchange the file over the internet. It is an application layer protocol which moves the required file between local and file system and remote file system. Transferring file from a client computer to a server computer is called uploading, and transferring from a server to a client is called downloading. FTP is the file transfer protocol in the Internet's TCP/IP protocol suite application layer. Although transferring file from one system to another is very simple and straightforward, but sometimes it can cause problems. For example, two systems may have different file convention, uh, and the two systems may have different ways to represent text and data. FTP protocol overcome these problems by establishing two connections between hosts. One connection is used for data transfer and one another connection is used for control connection. For the history of file transfer protocol, the completion of FTP dates from 1971 when a file transfer system between MIT machine by Massachusetts Institute of Technology was developed. Many RFC have since made improvement and changes to the basic protocol, but the greatest innovation date from July 1973. The FTP protocol is currently defined by RFC 959 with the specification guide in October 1985. This work included both the design and the implementation of the protocol that would implement internet works, and also the creation of the work and the first networking application to allow users to perform different tasks. The purpose of creation of FTP. For the first point is data representation. FTP handles three types of data representation: ASCII 7-byte, ABCD 8-bit, and 8 binary data. The ASCII file is the default format for transferring text file. Each character is encoded using 7-bit ASCII. The sender transforms the file from its own representation into ASCII characters, and the receiver transforms the ASCII character to its own representation. The next point is file organization and data structure. The FTP protocol can also perform other actions such as creating and deleting directories, listing files, deleting and renaming files. Next point is access control. File access protection is done using login procedure and with login name and password. FTP hides the detail of individual computer system. And the last point is multiple access. FTP server features multiple access method. Your organization benefit from users' ability to be productive from anywhere. You have a wider range of options in terms of who is connecting to your site, how they are connecting, and where they are connecting from. For the advantages of FTP, the first point is capable of large file transfer. As example, for many companies, your file transfers need to go beyond sending a single Microsoft Word document at a time. You might need send hundreds of gigabytes of data all at once. FTP easily facilitates those large transfers, and you benefit from an increased rate of file transfer as well. The next one is resume interrupted file transfer. In explanation, if your file transfer is interrupted, you don't have to worry about losing progress. With FTP, you can resume an interrupted file transfer if your connection is lost. Pick up where you left off without transferring the transfer from the beginning. The next point is transfer schedule. Uh, with top FTP solutions, you can schedule transfer for time with your minimal impact to your workflow, like overnight or on the weekend. Your productivity isn't impacted, and these transfers are automated for your convenience. And the last point is recovery lost data. The top FTP providers make sure that the data is never lost even when unexpected event happen. When disaster recovery, your file are regularly and automatically backup. For the mechanism of FTP, in the model described in the figure, the user control interpreter initiates the control connection. The control connection follows the telnet protocol, and the initiation of the user standard FTP commands are generated by the user Pi and transmitted to the server process via the control connection. Standard replies are sent from the server Pi to the user server Pi over control connection in response to the commands. The FTP commands specify the parameter for the data connection and the nature of file system operation, which is store, retrieve, append, and delete. The user DTP or its designated should listen on the specified data port, and the server initiate the data connection and the data transfer in accordance with specified parameter. It should be noted that the data port need to be in the same host that initiate the FTP commands via the control connection, but the user or the user FTP process must ensure a listen on the specified data port. In other situations, a user might wish to transfer file between two hosts, neither of which is a local host. The user sets up control connection to the two server and then arrange for a data connection between them. In this manner, control information is passed to the user Pi, but data is transferred between the server data and the transfer process. Following is a model of the server-server interaction. For the flowchart, at first, it starts and into decision whether the data is write or read. If read, it will receive file from client server. After that, it will end. And if write, and if it's yes, it will loop to if more date and complete the request. If no, it will read X byte from the sender client, then it will write X byte to file server. After that, it will indicate the decision if more dates then completed the request. After that, it will end. For the improvement of file transfer protocol, the first point is memory registration, cache, and persistent session. While we are pre-allocate a set of buffer to speed up processing, the buffer need to be registered for use. This intends impact the performance. The second point is revisit and update your data security policies based on the advancement in threats. When these changes are made, communicate them to your team. Your policies should be a living aspect of your data security efforts, not just guidelines that are communicated to your team now and then. The last point is file transfer protocol secure. This feature enables digital certification, symmetric and asymmetric encryption, and message authentication code (MAC) algorithm for securing system. For the implementation of file transfer protocol, for FTP, I needed to write both a client and server. This client and server connect over the two channels, which is the command connection and the data connection. The first point is setting up the data and command connection. An FTP client and server connect on two different ports. One port is used for sending commands and commands respond back and forth, and the other is used for sending file data back and forth. According to the FTP standard, the server command connection should be over 21 and the server data connection should be over. With an FTP client, the user can upload or download file to a server. This is a simple software that you can install into your PC. Then you must place the server hostname, login and password and click connect. Afterward, you are ready to send a received file from the server. The next point is required commands. The FTP uses the control connection to establish a communication between the client control process and the server control process. During this communication, the commands are sent from the client to the server and the response are sent from the server to the client. The client FTP application will connect to the FTP server, then it will authenticate. The protocol uses commands line to send commands to the server. There are several commands that the FTP client use to talk to the server. For the conclusion part, when we ask what does FTP means, we have to explain its literal meaning, which is file transfer protocol. It's good always to explain a brief of history. Basically, the FTP protocol is based on commands. So, the client FTP talks to the server FTP side using this command. The FTP client has a good looking interface to make things easier for the end user. The FTP is one of the most popular internet protocol nowadays. It is simply the industry standard to transfer file to web hosting server. And those are the reference. That's all from me. Thank you.